Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for November 29th, 2020. Hi, dinosaur. Anyway, if you've been watching my vlogs. Anyway, so this is the last day of my vacation as well, so I'm a little sad that it's coming to an end. So I'm not going to let this run forever. I just want to show you. He's there. I still love him. Anyway, oh my gosh, this whole week went by so fast for considering what I didn't do a whole lot, which was really great. I probably needed it just with everything that happened the week before. And then just the stress of the last few months before, because work was really stressful. So it was really a great break for that, and I'm glad I got to do that. I should have done more around my house. I did not get around to organizing my bookshelves. I really need to do that now that, yeah, you'll see my book haul in a couple days, and or maybe tomorrow, and you'll see that I got a lot of books, so I got to find homes for everything, and I don't have enough space right now. So I'm gonna have to pretty much do my cull pretty soon. I usually do one in June and December. The books from my June call are still here because I haven't been able to sell them back anywhere. So it'll be just a bigger stack in the guest room. Anyway, so let's get into it. So again, this week was really nice, and I'm glad we had it. Again, Thanksgiving went well. My brother cooked the turkey, and I did all the sides. They were all instant stuff, so it was really easy. Just didn't take very much time. So we had a great time. I have so many leftovers. I don't even know what to do with all the turkey still, and I gotta anyway, make a decision here in a minute. I have a huge chunk from one of the breasts, so anyway, I still need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. Anyway, so let's talk about the reading. I finished 7 things this week. I did make a decision on one book, which is, well, it's not a DNF because I didn't read very much of it, but it made a decision. It was on one of my lists from earlier in the year, so I will explain that. And then I'll talk about what books I'm in the middle of, and then what I think I'm going to read in the next week. So I'll be going back to work, so not as much, let's just say that. So I don't know what page count I actually did. I did pretty good most of the days. There was only 1 or 2 days that were kind of low numbers for a day off, but really overall it was a great span. As I said, I finished 7 things, and I'm pretty happy with that. And only one of them was a reread. So, if that helps in my numbers. Anyway, so the first book that I finished was Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. If you guys saw my reading vlogs in the part of the week, you will know that this book was quite a disappointment. So this was on my 5-star predictions list, as well as one of the oldest books on my TBR. I bought this in 2005 in Australia, so I have a lot of sentimental value to the copy itself. I probably will not get rid of it. But this book was so disappointing. So I usually like his big chunker books. Again, Murakami is problematic in some of his ways of his depictions of women. Don't get me wrong. And his male characters think the most idiotic things sometimes, and I'm just like, ugh. But what I like about him is usually the magical realism, or the, you know, fantastical element he throws in that you're just not sure what's going on. And it's just bizarre characters, and I love their conversations. He does conversations really well for me. I do like all that. But this book nearly broke me in just, I almost DNF'd this at 400 pages because of what happened in that scene. I was so angry. And again, his justification for probably why that scene is there was not strong enough for me. To me, it was kind of, extraneous, or not extraneous. It was gratuitous. That's the word I want. It was just gratuitous. And to me, it was just unnecessary. And I was so angry at him, the writer, behind the main character who did it. Anyway, point is, so pissed off. I know he tries to redeem that in the end, but by that point, I'd already gotten to the point where I did not like that character. So half this book is told from the point of view of a 15-year-old who runs away from home, and what he deals with when he runs away from Tokyo down to towards the south to be in a more warmer climate, so he didn't have to take too many clothes, and he and the people he meets, and it again, I liked a lot of that. And then there's another storyline of so his point of view is told in present tense, and then the I think that's right. Yeah, so his is in present, and in first person. And then the other storyline is about a man named, I'm going to say this wrong, aren't I? Is it Nakata? Sorry, Nakata. And he is an older man in his 60s who is living, who has some mental disabilities. And so he lives from payment from the state. And so he is like a magical guy who can go and he's very good at finding cats, lost cats. So that's kind of his sideline. So he gets a little extra money that way. And he's known in his neighborhood in Tokyo to find cats. Well, turns out, there's a cat element to that of why he's so good at that. So I loved Nakata's storyline. That was the one I liked. I liked where it went, the people we met, people he got close to, and things that he had to deal with. It was very, very magical and very different things going on in there. It was very weird. This book was just weird, but it was the kid who I had, who calls himself Kafka. He, it just, again, I liked a lot of the beginning of him, and then after a certain point I started to get kind of pissed off, and then of course that one scene at 400 pages where I had to make myself finish this book. So again, I got this far into, where's my little sticky thing here? So I got all the way to that point, and this is where I nearly DNF'd the book. So that is not good. Anyway, and I don't usually do that, but I forced myself to finish it. I just couldn't leave it undone because I wanted to read the other guys' storyline. So I am really mad about this book. Again, I gave it a 3 because half the book was excellent. I still think a lot of this book was really well done. And it's just it was that scene at around 400 pages that really pissed me off. And then there's another scene in here is the most horrific scene I have read in a really long time. Now that's not against it. It was scary to me, and it has to do again with how I feel about certain things on this. So again, it has to do with cats. So it was bad. It was really, really bad. So be aware of that going in. I'm not like big on triggers or anything, but that was like the most horrific scene I have read in a really long time. But again, I like cats, so that was why it's horrific. Anyway, so I don't know if that was too much of a spoiler, but oh my god, it was just a horrible scene. But again, that wasn't my problem with this book. So again, there's a lot of things with this. There's that I really liked, and something that I didn't catch until halfway through between the two timelines. It took me a while to realize what he'd done. He did it so well that he tricked me, but it was a good trick. Like, it wasn't one I was mad about. Again, he just 400 pages in and you do something that just, anyway. So of my Murakamis, I still have 2 big chunkers to read, and IQ 84 and Killing Commodore, which had just come out. So those 2 are the last 2 of the really big ones. I've read everything else of his except for short stories. I don't do short stories very much, but I do have them in case I want to, but I hear they're even more problematic than his bigger works. I like the bigger chunky ones normally much better than the smaller novels. For some reason, I like, when he usually has more room to move, I'm much more amped to like the story. So I have the 2 more. I am going to attempt next year to try to get at least one, if not both of them done, so that I'm caught up, and then I can decide if I'm just outgrown him. And this one, because again, this was from 2005, so, and the other 2 are later, so we'll see how it goes. If they're both the same to me, I feel I have the same issue where something happens and I want to DNF it, then I will get rid of it. Oh my gosh, I talked a lot about that. But that is my only rant, so bear with me. So anyway, then after that I read Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This was translated by Michael Hoffman I think it's from the German. I'm pretty sure it's German. Anyway, so I read this because this book talked a lot about Kafka, because the kid takes that name. So I decided I just read the short story novella, whatever, Metamorphosis, because I always wanted to read one of his things, and I'm glad I did, because now I do want to kind of explore a little bit more. I might want to get like the trial, or one of the there was another one in here I want to read that was after the penal. In the penal colony they talked about in that other book. So I do want to kind of read that too. But I just wanted to read one piece to get a feel for it. So again, this is the one where the man Gregor wakes up in his bed and he is a cockroach, a human-sized cockroach. And we don't have any explanation, like, but it's just the aftermath of what happens when he wakes up like that. And really, I have to tell you, the first part of this was funny. Like, I laughed a lot. Like, I was surprised. I mean, again, there's the horrible part of him waking up as a bug, but you have his thoughts and his feelings on it. And it was kind of interesting. It just devolved into a really sad story. And so I came out of this not quite sure what I'm supposed to get out of it, except for, you know, the emotion, the rides. It was funny and then it was sad. So I'm not sure what, you know, maybe there's probably more to it than I might need to research a little bit more, and I just haven't taken the time to do it. But I'm glad I read it to say I've read that, you know, at least. And so I do want to read more of his stuff, because I did like his the writing style. So, I mean, I didn't have any problems with that. I mean, you know, so anyway. But so I didn't count this whole book completed. I just counted, I found a substitute for just that one story, just so I had that on my list that I did read that. Then I reread Archangel's Prophecy. No, that's not right. Oh, no, okay. So this, I did not finish 7 things. I finished 6 things. Sorry. This one I just wanted to throw in here because of books I read later in the week. I just read the last 100 pages of this to prep for the next book or the next one that I finished in this series. So this is book number 11 of the Guild Hunter series by Nalini Singh. So this is the one with the archangels, angels, and vampires, and then humans. And then the Guild Hunters are those who can do kind of extra, or they track down rogue vampires. But we're following Helena and her and Raphael, and mostly it's Elena through this book. So anyway, this one was this was a really good one. But I only read the last 100 pages, so because there was something that happened at the end of this one that correlates to the next one, so I will get to that. I forgot that was in here, so dang it, I didn't actually finish 7 things. I finished 6. I finished A Buzz in the Meadow by Dave Golson. This is my nonfiction November pick for Buzz, because A Buzz in the Meadow. I really enjoyed his A Sting of the Tail when I read it for Springathon earlier this year, which should come back this year. I'm telling you, this next year. This was about his property in France. He uses that kind of as the basis, and then he talks about several different environmental issues and talking about certain kind of bugs and pollination and butterflies and things. And you kind of learn a little bit more about him, as well as the property, as well as kind of the environmental talks that are going on in the world when this was written. And I think this was 2017, is that right? No, 2014. So, I mean, it's a little behind now, but it still was talking about stuff that had been coming up in the scientific world. So I really enjoyed it. This was a book that I had to change my reading patterns on it because I couldn't read it straight through. I was having trouble with that. So I just took the chapters and then I broke it up. And if I read it earlier in the day than in the night, I would read it faster. For some reason at night, it would put me to sleep, and it's not boring. I just think it was because it was scientific in a little way. I mean, again, it's very lightly scientific, but it's enough, you know, it's bugs. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to picking up something else by him, but I have liked him so far. So I liked that for that. So then I finished Archangel's War. This is my major reread. I reread the whole book. This is book number 12 in the Guild Hunter series. So I wanted to read this one. I got this last year in November or December and read it, but I had never reread it. And again, Nalini Singh is one of those authors I reread all the time. But for some reason, sometimes the books in this series, I won't reread them during the year. I don't feel like I need to. And I remember now after I read this, why I didn't pick this one up at any point. As much as there are so many good things that happen here in the first half of this book, the end half is the whole war that it's talking about. So it's a battle scene, which I love battle scenes. So I know that there's a lot of people out there who do not like battle scenes or that kind of thing. And I actually like those. That's the parts I do like in epic fantasies and things. So I like that. But it was just that it doesn't mean I want to reread it all the time, if that makes sense. The stuff I get from her that I want is the more world building, the characters and things like that. And to read the war scene again was like, well, it was great to read it again to remember what happened. but I don't need to reread that one very often. So this is not one I will probably reread very often. It'll definitely be one if I read the whole series all the way through again, or like I did this time, read a couple before the new book comes out. But definitely not one I'm going to read a whole lot. But it's still a really good book in this series because it's culminating the whole an arc and finishing one of them. So before they start new stuff. So I really did enjoy that book, a reread. And then I finished my other nonfiction book that I wanted to get done before the end of the month, and that is Fifth Avenue, 5 a.m., Audrey Hepburn, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and The Dawn of the Modern Woman by Sam Wasson. So this was one of my unexpected picks and my biggest surprise, I think. I mean, I don't know if it's the biggest one so far this year. I'd have to go back and look, but for sure this was so surprising on how much I enjoyed this. So I am not a big movie watcher. I'm not a big Hollywood fan, like, or definitely not old Hollywood. It's really interesting that there's a couple of actresses over the years I have studied a little bit and, got a biography or nothing, but nothing like huge. And Audrey Hepburn is not one of those that I'd picked to read a biography on. This one after this, I probably will at some point just because she sounds fascinating. But really what this is talking about how Breakfast at Tiffany's, from its creation to post-production, its journey and what happened and decisions that were made and who got to work on it and why, and then also what decisions they made to change from the novel by Truman Capote, and then what they put in the movie and how they changed that to make it more Hollywood-wise. So I really enjoy this. It's written very easily and it's good chapters of like through the 50s, from when the book was written and stuff, and then when it gets sold to be made into a movie, and then all the stuff that has to go in before they can make the movie, and then making the movie, and then the aftermath. Overall, this was a quick read. It's just over 200 pages. I think it was really well done. My only criticism, and he does address this, so there's a note in the back and he addresses this, but there is author intrusion in here. He inserts what people were thinking in that moment, and there's no way he knows that. There's no way. Like, you cannot even guess what that person was thinking in that moment. And I have real trouble with that in nonfiction when they that's a step too far for me to be telling me what they're thinking at that time. Now, if there's a source for that and they told them that, maybe, but I still don't like the way it was written. It was still too much for me. It was a little too far. But he acknowledges that in the back that was his stylistic choice to make it more of a narrative nonfiction. So you have to know that going in. But other than that, I mean, that was my only criticism on this, really. This was really a fantastic read. I learned so much about old Hollywood and the players behind it. And then I, of course, bought a book off of one of the people that they mentioned because she just sounded fascinating. It was not Audrey Hepburn. It was actually somebody else. But you'll see that when I get that book next month. Anyway, but I really enjoyed this. If you like Audrey Hepburn, Breakfast at Tiffany's, any like old 50s to early 60s Hollywood, this is the book for you. And if you want to get introduced to that kind of stuff, this is a good book for name dropping. There's so many names in here. Like, most of them I actually didn't realize I would know. It was weird. Like, it was very interesting. I really enjoyed that. And it was a total whim buy that I saw off somewhere. I don't know who I saw it off of, and I'm just not sure if I saw it on Goodreads or on Amazon or on Instagram, and somebody had bought it, and I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know anybody who had liked it. I just saw the book and thought it sounded cool, so I bought it, and it was totally a whim. And I am so glad I read that. And again, I read that for the time prompt because it's 5 a.m. So good. Anyway, and then I finished yesterday Archangel's Son by Nalini Singh. This is the 13th and newest book in the Guild Hunter series. So again, I read the other books to read for this one, and I love this book. This was so much fun. This is definitely what I will be rereading pretty soon. I love the couple in here. So again, half the books are about people who are around the main characters from the first couple books, which again were the Archangel's War and Prophecy, were more about the main couple. And then we have side books that they're in the timeline, but they're about the other couples getting together. and I loved this one. So, because I've already liked Titus, and I love the hummingbird. So, Serene. So it was just, this was a good book. It definitely went in directions I did not expect. There was one point where they surprised me on what happened. She surprised me, and then, I was worried it was going to go in another direction. I was kind of really, really worried for my characters, but it didn't go that way. So I was so happy. But I love this. So this is a great read. Anyway, great urban fantasy. Again, archangels, angels, and vampires. Anyway, so I'm really glad I finished that. And I just got that on Tuesday. Anyway, so let me just talk about the books. Oh, then the book that I decided I'm not going to read and I'm going to get rid of now after 20 some years is The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. So I've started another book, which I'll show you in a minute. But I thought, oh, you know what? I better go back and look at this because this is like kind of what the other one is a little based on, but not really. It's just his own interpretation of it. But Man in the High Castle is an alternate history of where Japan and Germany won the World War II and they split the U.S. And I had been wanting to read this since college when my teacher mentioned it after we read Do Androids Sleep of Electric Sheep? No. Whatever that one is called. I don't know if I just said that right. Anyway, it's on my shelf over there. But my problem is I started reading this and I just like the writing style so much. Like I read 20 some pages and or not even that. I made it, yeah. I didn't get very far, but I also went, nope. And again, it's one of the oldest books on my TBR. It was on my, try to get through, to at least try it, to decide if I'm going to do it. And I just decided some sci-fi classics are just not for me, and I've decided this one is not for me. So I'm going to get rid of this book. So after having it, carried it around for 20 years, I'm going to get rid of it. Anyway, so the book I started last night was United States of Japan by Peter... Oh, crap. Tirias, I think is how it's said. Anyway, I just forgot again. I was going to look that up. So this is an alternate history about a United States that was that also lost the war, and Japan and Germany have, I'm pretty sure Germany, they split it up again too. But I mean, so far I'm not very far. I've only read about 40 pages. Yeah. So, the first part is talking about when it first happened after, the U.S., signed, the USA signed papers that they lost, and everything. And I guess, and then Japan takes over and they, free the Japanese in the internment camps. And that's kind of where we start. And then it's 40 years later, and, now I'm just getting to the part where it's just trying to explain the world of what it looks like 40 years after that aftermath. And this looks like they're really big robots. I'm kind of excited. Anyway, so I've had this on my shelf for at least a year or two, probably 2 now. But my brother earlier this year had almost bought a copy when we went to Powell's, I think early in the year. I think it was in February, and there was a sale. And he was going to buy it, and I said, oh, I have that on my shelf. I'll read it and let you buy, and then you can have it after me. And he says, oh, so he put that book back. And now I'm like, that was since February. I just remembered it, like, last week. And so I've been staring at it on my TBR shelves, and I was like, you know what, I really should read that so I can give it to him. So anyway, so I'm at least going to try it. I'm 40 pages in, so it's still a little early for me to know if I'm going to click all the way through this. But this is an author I've been wanting to try, as well as this series. So anyway, we're going to try that next. And then, started that. I'm going to listen to Red Comet, the short life and blazing art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. I'm listening to this on audio because I'll have to get this book back to the library soon. The narrator is Laura Jennings. So I didn't listen to it much this week during vacation. I wasn't in the car enough, and every time I got in the car, I just listened to music. It was just that kind of thing. But tomorrow I'll be starting back with my commute to and from work, so I will reactivate this and make myself listen to this, because I still have 41 hours out of 46. So, because I'm only 100 pages in. So, this is going to take a while, because it's like a 900 page book with 200 pages of notes. So anyway, and again, I was loving this last week when I started it. So I do want to get back to it. It's not like I just didn't drive in the car enough this week. And then the only book for sure I want to read after I decide about the United States of Japan is I want to read The Princess Knight by G.A. Aiken. So this is book 2 in the Scarred Earth. Oh no, what did I do? Is it Scorched or Scarred? Oh, my brain just stopped. I think it's the Scarred Earth series. So this is book 2. The first one was The Blacksmith Queen, which I loved, that I read earlier in November. So, oh God, just loved it. It was so much fun. It's so raunchy, but it's funny. It's just such a romp, and bloody and guts, and it was just great. It was just fantastic, and they were all characters are crazy, and I just love it. Anyway, so this is the next book, and this follows one of the sisters of the main character in the first book, Keely. So this is Gemma's book, and she's like a warrior knight, and so yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. So because again, the guy who's so these are like they call them romance. They're like a romance. They say it's paranormal romance on here. It's like a fantasy with a strong romance element, but not romance as in it happened. It was like, at least in the first book, it was very light. It was actually more just the beginning of the story. So this one definitely will do the. I mean, I don't know if it's going to do the same. I'm hoping it's not going to be any more heavy-handed. I liked it with the light element of it. It was very light. They were just more getting together, that part, but not beyond that. Just a little bit beyond that, but not much. So we'll see how this one goes. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. Again, this is another book I just got, so I do want to read that. So anyway, that is it. I actually didn't do so bad on my timing for me. Considering I talked about all those books and I ranted about Kafka on the shore earlier. So anyway, my vacation comes to an end today, so I'm probably just gonna hunker down and read. So how was your guys' week? Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving? As I said, we survived, my brother and I, with our cooking. So that was good. I hope you guys who had Thanksgiving that enjoyed that, or any time off that you got. If not, I hope your reading was all very good this week. It's because I'm very pleased with what I did get done. Even if I miscounted how many books I got done. Darn it. But oh well. I read good for me. So that's good enough. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.